Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
I like to equate it to you have a friend, family member who's on life support, and you have to decide whether or not to take them off life support. That's how important this decision is.
Deliberations got underway right around 12:40 this afternoon.
Yeah, that came after both the prosecution and defense made their final case as Scher stands charged with the murder and the death of Patrick Leoya. Jacqueline Francis has been anchoring our streaming coverage of this trial. So, Jacqueline, any word if the jury has gone home for the day?
We just learned that they have been sent home for the day. Their deliberations come after 6 days of testimony, 23 witnesses, including the officer himself. And now it's up to those 12 jurors to decide whether he's guilty or not.
I hope we're not getting callous. And callousing is the fact that how many times do we watch a video of another person, Patrick, dying over and over and over again? It wasn't TV, it's not movies. This is a real man, a human being, who was shot in the back of the head.
The jury can play the video as many times as they need while deliberating, deciding the fate of former Grand Rapids police officer Christopher Scher.
You don't get to shoot somebody because they're trying to get away.
In his closing, prosecutor Chris Becker said Patrick Leoya was no saint, but he didn't deserve to die.
Because you don't compare up there, one's good, one's bad, we'll just throw it up there. You have to base the case based on the facts.
Attorneys for the officer say it was self-defense.
That's it. That's how much time he's got to make up his mind. That's what you're judging him on.
They argue Scher feared for his life when Patrick got hold of his police taser.
Well, you heard from Officer Scher. Judge him on his testimony.
The choices before the jury are voluntary manslaughter, second-degree murder, and not guilty.
I like to equate it to you have a friend, family member who's on life support, and you have to decide whether or not to take them off life support. That's how important this decision is.
The jury will return tomorrow morning for day 2 of deliberations. As soon as we get word of a verdict, we will let you know.
We know you'll be following. Thank you, Jacqueline.
All right, we do have some breaking news to get to here at 5 o'clock. This is just into the Local 4 newsroom. The person wanted in connection to a deadly shooting outside a Foot Locker has turned herself in. That shooting happened Saturday afternoon outside the store on East 8 Mile and Kelly. That's right at the Detroit-East Point border. Investigators say it started as a fight between two groups outside the store. Police say a woman got a gun out of a trunk, started shooting. 4 people were hit, 2 died at the scene. We're told that person is in police custody. No word yet on any charges.
Our top story at 5. New information into a shooting that left 1 man dead and a Michigan State police trooper injured on Detroit's west side.
This all happened just after 4:30 this morning at a home on Murray Hill. That's right in the area of the Lodge and 8 Mile. Let's get out to Erica Erickson. Erica, any word on the trooper's condition tonight?
At last check, we're told that Trooper is stable. We're told that Trooper's vest likely saved his life, but we've got a family here who is devastated, and there's a lot of confusion about what exactly went down out here.
Chaos and so many unanswered questions.
All I heard was pop, 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 pop.
For some, this scene on Murray Hill near Trojan, starting with a frantic phone call from a family member.
I just ran out the house and ran to her. And I heard the sirens when they was coming down here. His brother had to see him laying on that ground.
And for others, final words.
My little brother called my name. He called for me to come out. As soon as I started running, all I hear is gunshots.
The family of 23-year-old Martez Hunter left shaken after a Michigan State Police auto theft team working undercover say around 4:30 Monday morning, Hunter, sitting in a silver Chevy Cobalt with tinted windows, at some point got out of the car, shooting 3 rounds at police.
We got lucky today that our officer had his vest on. That another trooper was with him and was able to return fire.
The trooper, a 7-year member of MSP, shot in the leg and back, recovering at Detroit Receiving Hospital. But Hunter, an aspiring rapper who his family says grew up here, had a license to carry, and would never intentionally hurt anyone, pronounced dead here in the street.
Why y'all got police and all my cars pulling up on people? Now they trying to pay my baby to be a bad guy. That hurt. Like, real talk, that hurt.
As you can imagine, during all of this, bullets flying, neighbors forced to duck for cover as bullets are actually coming into their homes.
I jumped out of bed and trying to get cover, and the shooting continued, and I laid on the floor until it was over. My neighbor could have been hurt. She got a 3-year-old little grandbaby over there.
While everyone thankful, no one else was hurt.
We do offer our condolences to the family. We know this is a tragedy. Any loss of life is terrible.
I feel bad for the family. I feel bad for the department. Why does it always have to come to violence or somebody losing their life?
Hunter's family simply says they want answers.
We're going to get justice for that.
Damn sure again.
Believe it.
It's not over with. This ain't over with.
Sad situation. We are hearing, again, different stories from Hunter's family and police, but Detroit's Homicide Task Force is taking over the investigation into that shooting. For now, reporting live, Erica Erickson, back to you.
Okay, Erica, thank you.
Well, student debt is in the national spotlight right now, all after multiple attempts to cancel student loans under President Biden and efforts to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education under President Trump.
Currently in Michigan, roughly 13.9% of the population has some form of student loan debt. That's according to a national study done by Smart Asset.
That means just under 1.4 million Michiganders have debt, each averaging an outstanding balance of, get this, about $37,000.
And while that's significant, Michigan ranks 19th in the U.S. for student loan debt. Residents living in the top 5 states are dealing with an outstanding loan balance of between $39,000 and $44,000.
Well, that's why today some people are feeling a little stressed, knowing the collection of defaulted federal student loans has resumed. It's ending a 5-year pause related to the pandemic. The government says defaulting now can lead to garnishment of state or federal benefits and garnishment of wages starting this summer.
The Department of Education estimates about 5 million borrowers have defaulted on student loans. Another 4 million are at least 90 days late on payments. So if you're worried about defaulting, look into an income-based repayment plan, payment pauses called deferment or forbearance, or consolidation or refinancing.
All right, take a live look at pictures from the White House right now, where President Trump made an announcement today that involves the National Football League and the National Mall, also discussing his meeting tomorrow with the Canadian Prime Minister on tariffs, with a new one aimed at the film industry.
You know, the people we want.
A touchdown for Washington, D.C. President Trump announcing the nation's capital as host of the 2027 NFL Draft, possibly on the National Mall.
Very, very amazing, I think, for D.C., but even for the country.
The news comes ahead of Trump hosting a key player in his tariff turf war, the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Amid the ongoing trade war and Trump's threats to make Canada a 51st state, the relationship with one of U.S.'s strongest allies has soured.
They all want to make a deal because we have something that they all want.
The president doubled down on his tariff policy over the weekend during an exclusive interview on Meet the Press, insisting the strategy would eventually bring back manufacturing to the U.S., but in the short term, admitting Americans could face pain, including higher prices, supply shortages, and a possible recession.
Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
Look, everything's okay. What we are, I said, this is a transition period. I think we're going to do fantastically.
The president playing the blame game and only taking credit for the positives.
I think the good parts are the Trump economy and the bad parts are the Biden economy, because he's done a terrible job. He did a terrible job.
NBC's Kristen Welker pressed the president on his immigration crackdown and mass deportation efforts, asked whether every person in the U.S., regardless of citizenship status, deserves due process, which is guaranteed by the Fifth Amendment.
We'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said.
Though, in fact, the Supreme Court has already ruled the Trump administration must allow immigrants basic due process rights. And also over the weekend, President Trump's latest proposal to reopen and expand Alcatraz prison.
Well, it is the suspension that seemed to come out of nowhere. Michigan head coach Sharon Moore forced to sit out 2 games next season.
Yeah, Hobie's here with us now to break down what all this means.
Yeah, first off, he's being suspended for what?
Well, it all goes back to that scandal that broke out during Michigan's championship run with Connor Stallions. ESPN reporting that Sharon Moore will miss Week 3 and Week 4 of the upcoming season, a self-imposed penalty by the U of M. That report says the suspension is for Moore allegedly deleting a thread of 52 text messages with Stallions back in October of 2023. The school is issuing this suspension, and Moore will not be allowed to participate in any team activities during those 2 weeks. Moore will also meet with the Committee on Infractions in early June, the report said, and they could choose to implement additional punishment or accept what Michigan is offering. So this is just one of many layers to come.
So interesting that they chose games 3 and 4. Why not 1 and 2?
Well, 1 is right out of the gate, the first game of the season, but it's important to know that Week 2, Michigan plays Oklahoma, and that is Sharon Moore's alma mater.
Yeah.
So you don't. So they want him to have that opportunity. So the U of M saying, how about weeks 3 and weeks 4? But the NCAA could say, 2 games. How about these 2 instead of those 2? So it's going to be very interesting to watch what happens in early June with this story.
We'll see what happens. Thanks, Hobie. All right, now to the weather, and take a look at pictures from our Windsor Skycam. You know, it's been cloudy for most of the day today after a whole lot of rain yesterday.
That's right, and from the looks of things, we might be in for a repeat for performance tonight. So let's get over to forewarned meteorologist Kim Adams for the update. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Kim and Damon. Well, it won't be like it was yesterday. We just expect some scattered showers, maybe a rumble of thunder, but not everyone gets wet tonight, and we're not expecting the heavy, heavy rain that we had yesterday. Right now, it's warmer than it was yesterday for sure. We're all the way into the mid, even upper 60s right now. We'll look at the 24-hour temperature change. Yesterday afternoon at this same time, it was much colder. So right now in Mount Clemens, it's 18 degrees warmer than it was just 24 hours ago, 15 degrees warmer at the airport, and 14 in Grosse Ile and Monroe. We are going to be a little bit cooler tomorrow, and there is that chance of some rain. We'll check really quickly on our winds right now. Wind gusts have been pretty calm. We've got 10 to 15 mile per hour gusts. The highest I see right now is Port Huron at 19, but definitely not a windy day for us by any means. We'll talk about the timing of that rain coming up in just a minute.
All right, Kim.